Now to the wide receivers, we have Calvin Johnson. My goodness, one of the top 10 most impactful receivers in history. The impact that he's made in the game with his athleticism and the fact that he can run great routes.
And he beats triple teams, man.
And blocks.
He beats triple teams. And looking at it from a fantasy perspective, unless he gets injured, he's going to be awesome. He plays with the strongest arm quarterback in football. He plays in the offense that throws the football the most. So he's in the absolute perfect spot to just dominate. And I think that the wide receiver position in fantasy football deep this year. But Calvin Johnson is the one guy that I would be willing to take in the first round because he's a week-to-week difference maker. He scores so many touchdowns and gets so many yards. I mean, he's head and shoulders above the rest of the guys.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And Demaryius Thomas, with Peyton Manning there, a.k.a. a real technique, a quarterback with real technique that's there. Sky is the limit for Demaryius Thomas, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at his last 7 games, he put up Calvin Johnson numbers in those last 7 games. Of course, he was playing with Tim Tebow, and Tim Tebow locks onto his primary read. But Demaryius Thomas can beat you deep. He can beat you underneath. I think that he's going to emerge as the NFL's best run after the catch wide receiver this year. And with a real quarterback, throwing to him, just as you alluded, Demaryius Thomas, again, the ceiling is very, very high on him.
Yes, it's so funny. It's so funny with John Elway. He was smiling from ear to ear, when he got Peyton Manning. He's saying, like, I don't have to tell you anything, Peyton. Do what you do. I don't have to tutor you. I don't have to babysit you. I don't have to hold your hand. I don't have to give you a pacifier. Do what you do. But now moving on to now disappointments. A.J. Green. Interesting, my friend.
Well, and I don't want to say he's going to be a bust. I mean, the only way that he realistically is going to bust is if he gets hurt. But we're not, going in assuming that any of these guys are going to get hurt. I am a little bit concerned about A.J. Green, though.
Okay.
And Andy Dalton, he got off to a nice start playing the softest schedule in football last year. If you look at his last 9 games, he really, really struggled statistically, and I think the same was the case, on the actual game footage. He had 7 touchdowns compared to 12 turnovers in those last 9 games, really played poorly. I think that he's gonna be a guy who takes a step back and kind of bring that Bengals passing game back along with them. Another concern that I have is the Bengals running game. I think that Ben Jarvis Green Ellis is a downgrade from Cedric Benson, and I think that running game is really going to struggle. And that's really all the Bengals have to keep defenses honest and not, triple team A.J. Green. I don't, unlike Calvin Johnson, I'm not quite sure that A.J. Green is capable of beating, a press corner, a linebacker, and a safety, play in and play out. So I think that there are some reasons to be concerned about A.J. Green. I think that his floor is like a second wide receiver in fantasy. But, for a guy who's probably going to go in the second round of drafts, that's a little bit scary.
Well, interesting. And real quickly, Julio Jones, real quickly. Him and A.J. Green, they came in together, both high school All-Americans, both top 10 picks coming out of SEC schools. So Julio Jones, you have him as a breakout star. Talk about Atlanta wants to pass more. Talk about how great he can be.
Man, he is such a baller. Like, I went back and watched a bunch of his games from this past season. I remember watching him at Alabama, and I legitimately thought he was a possession receiver, playing with Greg McElroy, and, in that Alabama offense, it was, run-oriented, and I didn't see him making plays downfield. He gets to Atlanta, I mean, he is playing so much faster than he did at Alabama. And, he is the vertical threat. At this point, Roddy White is the possession receiver, and Julio Jones is the deep guy. And I don't think he's just going to be a deep guy like he was last year with their new offensive coordinator, Dirk Cutter. I think that Julio Jones is going to be a Terrell Owens type of guy, where they just want to get him the football so much, the featured guy in that offense. He's running every single route. I think he's going to explode this year.
Excellent comparison to T.O. Excellent comparison. And moving on now to, real quickly in 30 seconds, Terrell Owens, how do you think, what fantasy impact he can make? Because he's in incredible shape, and he has space and opportunity with the Seattle Seahawks under Pete Carroll.
Big-time opportunity, and that's, the first thing you look for. And who knows what he has left, but their GM, John Snyder, said today that Terrell Owens ran 4.43, 4.45 during his workout on Mondays at 220 pounds, 38 years old, turns 39 in December. He's got a lot of opportunity. It looks like he can still run for a big man. I'd take him as a fourth wide receiver in fantasy, and, maybe you get wide receiver 2 or 3 numbers from him.